I do want to welcome you onto the GrayMan Podcast. I definitely appreciate you staying up with us and doing this interview. A gratefully great. I am grateful for it. Um, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to introduce yourself. Kind of tell us your name. I don't introduce people because I don't know what they got going on, like operational security. I don't want to violate nobody's like protocols or whatever they have in place. So whatever you say you are or who you are is who we're gonna put out there. So introduce yourself, tell us world who you are.
So I'm Danielle, also known as Danny. I am the owner and instructor from Defensive Unicorns.
Okay.
So I do a lot of all women's classes. I do also do family classes and children's classes as well, training with firearms, whether it's safety or we're just doing beginners courses to intro to pistol, rifle classes, all types of different classes. We have done couples classes as well.
Hmm.
Um, but I do more female classes, I say, because um, you run into more ego when it comes to teaching males. So it's a little bit more
I'm
comfortable.
guilty
But
of that. Yeah. You can't outshoot me. Yeah,
yes,
I'll be
I
talking.
get
I'll be
that
talking like that.
every time. I
Yeah,
get
no
that
doubt.
every time. And then the crazy part, if I feed in and I'll be like, all right, come on, you want to have a competition? Let's do it. And then I'll do it. And then if I win, then they act like they don't want to shoot for the rest of the class. So it's just
Now,
it's a
now,
lose situation regardless.
absolutely. Now, being a shooter myself, like the little background I have, like in history of shooting, I've been shooting for a while. So what I have learned is that the best shooters are actually female, and it's a lot of different reasons for that. Women have slower heart rates. Their physiology is better, like their breathing patterns are better. They're more adapt to stress. You know what I'm saying? So like if there's outside situations going on, they can kind of
Adapt.
yeah,
Yeah.
they can kind of just close off. They can kind of like tunnel vision that a lot better than men can. So, I mean, there's just a lot of different aspects to it. Like some of the best snipers that I know are women. Matter of fact, in World War
Wow.
II, Russia actually deployed female snipers on the front line, and they were extremely effective.
That's
So,
amazing. I
yep, for
love hearing
sure.
stuff like that. I feel like so many women want to do the stuff that the men do, and we can't
Hmm.
always. So I love that.
That's another reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast because there's a couple of reasons. One, you're a female in a mostly male dominated industry. You
Right.
are a professional. You own your own business, and you're a woman of color. You know what I'm saying? So like that's
Yep.
when you said you was a when you told me like I'm a unicorn, like nah, you are for real unicorn because it's not too many in this business that look like
Right.
us that do this. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I wanted
So
you to
true.
actually tell your story, and in doing so, and telling your
Mhm.
story, can you tell us where you're from?
Right. Right. So I'm originally from Philadelphia, born and raised. I moved to Georgia about 3 years now.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
What was your childhood like?
So my childhood, I lived with my mom and my dad until I was about, I want to say about 13, about 13 years old. I
Hmm.
always thought, I was one of the lucky kids that had their mother and their father both, around. And then I found out that my dad actually adopted me.
Mm, okay.
So I was with my birth mother, but my father was with me since I was born. But whole long story, but he wound up getting with my mother while she was pregnant with me, and then he adopted me, and I was raised with him.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Still, hey, still father. He was there. He did what he was supposed to do. That's what's up.
Yeah,
Salute to pops.
true. Yeah.
What was you like as a kid? Let's say.
So I don't think I was bad. I think around that time, you kids usually find something to be rebellion about, right?
Hmm.
So I guess around that time, I became a little rebellion just because I felt like I was lied to for so many years. And my father, rest in heaven, but he had a really bad drinking problem.
Hmm.
And he was also in the Navy as well. He had a whole bunch of trauma, and back then they didn't have everything that they have now to sort of try to help people with that trauma.
Hmm.
And he drunk really bad, and he was abusive. So I sort of dealt with that with my mom. and then as myself too as a child. So
Understood, understood. So, Philadelphia, what side of town in Philly?
I actually, believe it or not, so I originally lived in North Philly. Most people know North Philly, and then around seven
And
years
is that
old,
where
we
Will
moved
Smith
up.
is from, born and raised? On the playgrounds where you spend most of your days? No, no.
No, he was in West
Oh,
Philadelphia.
West Philadelphia. That's right. Don't beat me up in the comments. That's right. Okay. Okay, roll on.
but
My bad.
but yeah, I was in North Philly, and then around 7 years old, my mom and dad got state jobs, and
Hmm.
we actually moved up to the Northeast, which is the gooder part of Philadelphia, and I was up there almost my whole entire life. So
Okay, okay, that's cool. So, you said most of your whole entire life, you say you left Philly and moved to Georgia, right?
yep,
What city? Where
yep.
you at in Georgia?
In Georgia, I'm actually in Douglasville,
Okay.
so it's like a little county. But I like it out here. It's quiet. I got space. I got my seclusion from
Yeah, yeah.
neighbors.
Yeah, that's definitely a transition from the big city of Philadelphia and then
It
going to the
is.
country in Georgia for sure. That's
Mhm.
yeah. What made you want to do that kind of transition in life? That's huge. I know I might be jumping ahead, but
Right. So when I was younger, well, in my 20s, I moved from Philadelphia to the Poconos, and I had moved to
yeah,
the
that's also
Poconos.
Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, it's right outside, but yeah, it's what is it? Harrisburg. I think it still was PA. Yeah, I think it still is because it's
Okay.
like right after Harrisburg. Yeah, but it's like really secluded out there. So when I say it's no big malls,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
no yeah. So when I moved out there, it sort of taught me how to be in that little space on my own.
Okay, I'm tracking.
So yeah, from there I got real comfortable. So by the time I moved back to Philly, because my dad had got sick,
Hmm.
uh, when he passed away, it was easy for me to say, all right, I want to go to Georgia. I also had an aunt out here, so I would visit, and it was like, home away from home. So
Yeah.
I already knew I liked it out here. So I didn't just jump. I sort of, felt my way out before I actually came over.
Man. All right. So moving from Philly, going
hmm
out to the Poconos, what was the hardest, the most difficult part of that transition? Because obviously, big city to the middle of nowhere. I mean, where everything is accessible on every street corner. Because I understand, I've been to Philly, South Street, and all that. You know what I mean? I think y'all's mall downtown was called the Galleria,
Yeah,
right by
it was.
Chinatown. Yep. So you know what I mean? I've been to Philly. I'm a little familiar. I'm more New York, but same thing.
Right.
Everything's accessible on every corner, and then going out to the
Yep.
middle of nowhere where Walmart is the biggest thing popping.
Yes. Yep.
So
That's
what
so
what was
true.
that transition like?
So it was a little rough at first.
Hmm.
Even just going out, they have certain things that they're used to out there. So you go to a regular little diner because they don't have big restaurants. So you go to a
Yeah.
little diner, and then they have their special sauce that they put on everything, and you gotta be like, hold the sauce, and then everybody look
Yeah.
at you.
Yeah. No
Everybody look at
doubt.
you crazy. Oh, you ain't from here. So it was
Yeah.
an adjustment. People had to sort of warm up to you because they know you from the city. I
Yeah.
think it's something that they just sort of sense when you start asking little questions, especially me. I be like, so what if I need to get this? I gotta go all the way here. And I mean, everything was a good half an hour away. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it was definitely an adjustment, just moving out there. But it was nice. I took my son out there. At the time I only had my oldest son. I
Hmm.
moved him with me, and we got some comfortable time. The kids all still got along like they did in the city.
Yeah.
Where we lived was a little playground, so they got to play together, and it was just me having some time to myself, and I actually enjoyed it. So
Okay. 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 So we're gonna backtrack a little bit, talking
mm-hmm.
about schooling. Like, how was school for you? Like high school, middle school, high school. Like, what was
school
that like?
school
Yeah.
Yeah, school was good for me. Elementary school, I ran track most
Okay.
of it. I was really, really fast. That was one of my go-tos forever was track. Until I actually got pregnant with my son, and then it changed.
No doubt. No doubt.
It slowed me down. It's funny, funny
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
say
I
it that
bet.
way.
Yeah, I bet. You be waddling
Yeah,
out there. You ain't running no more, right? No doubt.
right. But I ran track most of elementary. I had a whole bunch of friends. Everybody that lived on my block went to my school, so
Hmm.
we were all friends. Middle school was the same thing. High school, when it sort of transitioned a little bit, I got along with people, had a lot of friends,
Hmm.
but I remember I really got my heart broke from the track. I was the fastest person since elementary school in my
Yeah.
school. And then I got to high school and they had a student assistant.
Hmm.
And that student assistant had a friend and she decided that she was going to let her friend be the fastest person in school.
Hmm.
So she cheated on the race. And then when I tried to explain, like, we could race right now, like, we could
Yeah,
check the
yeah,
numbers, they took it as, I was just upset because somebody beat my record. So I wound up quitting, and then that was
hmm,
it for that time for track. And then got into boys, right? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
trouble.
Trade one vice for the next, right? No doubt, no doubt. So I
Right.
know from I know from basically your online presence that you're also, and what we talked about earlier, you're also a nurse. So did you
Yep.
immediately jump into the medical field to do nursing, or was that something that you did later?
So soon as I actually got pregnant with my son, I focused on finishing out high school. Once I
Hmm.
did that, the first thing I did was go to a youth program that
Hmm.
actually I helped people. I was doing mentoring. You might have heard of it, City Year
Yes, when
program.
they wore the red jackets, the khakis,
Yes, and the
and the
boots.
Timberlands. Listen, where I'm from in Columbus, Ohio, the big city, Columbus, Ohio. We had city year people, and they used to meet at the state capitol like every morning at like 7 or 8 in the morning.
Yes.
And we're like, man, what are y'all doing? Like, then I guess like one of the big draws was that they got to keep the Tims and the
Yep.
khakis in the book bag. I was like, all right, don't wear that jacket. Like, that's like the big. No, this is no diss to city year because I knew a lot of people that came out of that actually are very
Yep.
productive people in society. But it was just something that
Yep.
we used to snap on back when we was younger. So
I know.
so
I
you was a
remember
city year
everybody used
person.
to be like,
Okay.
"Yes, I
Okay.
was." And they used to be like, you really wear them big red jackets?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm really
Man,
wear them big red jackets."
that's
So,
what's up. That's what's
but
up.
they stood out because everybody knew them for the jackets. Everybody
For
noticed.
sure.
So,
Yep.
hmm
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely hip. So so you said you did the city year thing, then you did nursing.
yes.
So
Yep. So the good thing about the city year program is they give you, depending on how many years you in there. So I went for a year. They
hmm,
wanted me to be an advisor, but I already knew I wanted to go to nursing school. So I did my year. They gave me 4,000 something towards school, and I
that's
went
what's
to nursing.
up.
Yep.
Wow, that's what's up. I didn't realize that they gave an educational incentive. I mean, it makes sense. I
Yep.
guess y'all went around to like the rough elementary schools and was help tutor the kids. So
Yep.
I mean, it
Yep.
makes sense that
It is.
that's kind of
Yep.
that's kind of like a job, not job corps, but a Peace Corps type thing.
Yep.
But it was
Yep.
actually in the city. Yeah, definitely, definitely. That's what's up. So
Hmm.
anybody else watching this out there, if you heard me talk about you back in the day, I apologize. Didn't realize that that's the things that y'all that those were the bonuses that y'all were getting because of what you were putting in.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So did you immediately go? Obviously you're RN now, right? Or
Yep.
BSN or
Yep. I have my associates. Yep.
okay.
So
So
LPN. Yep.
LPN. Okay, so you went and did that immediately after you went to school in what PA or in
Yeah,
Philly? I
I went
mean,
to Yeah, I went to school in Philly. Yep, I
okay.
started school in Philly, and then I just worked my way up. So as soon as I got the littlest degree, which was, I think I got a personal care assistant first.
Hmm.
So I had got that, and I started working because I didn't want to just go to school and not be able to provide. I already knew I needed my own place, my own car. Had a son, so
Most definitely.
um, yep, I worked my way up, and just by the time I got in the hospital, I worked at Pennsylvania Hospital. By the time I got
Okay.
there, they paid for me to go back to school, get my LPN. Yep.
That's awesome. So then now you out in the Poconos, and
Yep.
what'd you do out there? The same thing? You still
Nursing.
medical field?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. So
okay.
I transferred my, yep, they let me transfer my license and do what I had to do to go work out there. Yep.
Now, Now, one of the aspects that we talk about on this podcast, I mean, we're big
Mhm.
on the military. We're big on law enforcement, like huge on law enforcement. But another thing
Yeah.
that I feel is an important concept that people need to know, or that people need to kind of get their mind around, is survival. And that's one of the reasons also that you are here because you're a survivalist. So, how did you actually start getting into doing that?
So with the survivalist, I actually moved when I moved to Georgia. I
Okay.
actually had talked to Survival Sisters. I don't know if you know Fred from
I
Survival
am.
Sisters.
No, I don't know them, but I'm familiar with
Yeah.
their work, and I am an admirer, a huge fan.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
definitely, and that's actually how I linked up with you. So yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yep, yep.
Yeah. So I started working with the kids, with his
Hmm.
girls, which I love them. They're so sweet and they were really about their business. And I loved it because I met kids before that, but it's
Hmm.
sort of fun for them. It was fun for the survival sisters, but they were serious about making sure they did what they need to do and stayed safe. And I just loved it. And
Yeah.
then I
Okay.
met Fred and seen what a committed dad he was, and I loved it even more.
Hmm.
So as the girls grew older, they started doing other things in their life as they should, going to
Sure did.
college and high school and stuff like that. Yeah. So we had the idea, well, Fred had the idea, and he wanted me to be a part of it as, just getting women together as a sisterhood and us doing survivalist stuff.
Hmm.
So from there, we just all got together. I was one of the first ones to actually, start um, just meeting other girls that he was
Yeah.
bringing out that were writing about wanting the experience. And they would come out and we do everything. Now I do hunting. We don't take everybody hunting, but we do take some people that we feel like, they're ready. They could be safe and
Hmm.
ready to actually experience that. But we do hunting and, you know, we out here.
What
we
kind of
really
what kind of hunting do you do? Do you bow hunt? Do you rifle, shotgun? What, I mean, what do you? How do you?
right rifle and we do hog and we do deer. Yep.
Oh wow, that's I'm impressed. So now I know you do like I said survival and
Yeah.
just a couple of questions to kind of ask
Hmm.
about that. Do you believe
Hmm.
in bugging in or bugging out?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, hmm, look, I'm like,
Yeah, okay.
hmm.
Okay, okay.
uh, look, I'm trying to think like, hmm, I don't know, because Fred is always a on the moment type thing. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, right, it depends on the situation. So I sort of just think of it that way, like,
Probably, I guess, probably you being in a more scenic location, bugging in isn't
hmm
going to be a problem because you don't have to worry about hordes of people possibly taking over
that's
your position or breaking into whatever, and
true.
that's not really a threat for you. So probably
Right.
bugging in would be the most ideal. I guess, like you said, it's based
But
off
it,
of
it
where you
depends,
are.
yeah,
Yeah,
because sometimes if you're in a situation where everybody, like, I don't know if you remember, but when like the COVID stuff first started in Philadelphia
yeah,
and they were talking about it, people were running in people's houses crazy.
yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
I feel like if you have a family that you want to protect, it might be easier to sort of be out if you're a survivalist and know how to survive outside than
Hmm.
to be a sitting duck in a space where all these people are coming and attacking you. So it really depends to me. I think it depends on the situation. So,
Okay. Okay. So, if we're talking about being a survivalist, what would you
mhm.
think is the ideal type of equipment to put in a survival kit, like a pack? What would you
So,
think?
so you mean on the everyday?
Not
Like if
less.
you do.
Well, yeah, we'll
Hmm.
do that too. I was gonna say we can talk about your everyday
Hmm.
carry, but yeah, what would you like everyday carry, or just have like if you have something to put in the closet, just in case something hits the fan, like you'll use that scenario, like if
Right,
something
and you
hits the
gotta
fan
go.
scenario. Yeah, yeah, exactly. What would you
Yeah.
think you put in a kit? What would be an ideal setup?
So I always tell people, water, you can't have enough water because you
Okay.
never know what the situation is going to be. So having some type of water is always great, whether it's just a filter so you can clean your water, or having actual, gallons of spring water or whatever so you could take with you, is a one. Some people, they jar, whatever they
Mm-hmm.
do, have some type of food is always great. Of course, having your firearm is always great because you never know what the situation is going to come to hand.
Definitely.
Having a good steady knife that you can actually use to cut. Me, I have multiple because you have different knives for different things.
Absolutely.
Um, so having that is always a one. One thing we were just learning about was having, I don't know if you ever seen them, but they're like a everything scarf. You
Mm.
probably have seen them because in the military. So I know like for sand and
Yeah,
different type
yeah,
of
yeah.
weather.
Okay.
You use them. Yeah. So the everyday scarf is something that we now put in our kits
Mm-hmm.
because whether it's the weather or just for some reason you sort of got to be, more low key. That scarf can help you in so many different ways. Just
Absolutely.
warming up your face can warm up your body.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Um, and then I'm trying to think kit wise because I know like in the car, like we have wool blankets. We always make
Mm-hmm.
sure we got some type of wool blankets. Some type of, only because everything is so technology now, you want to get out of that. So, but you say you have so much stuff. You have your phone, you have a
Yeah, yeah,
thousand
definitely.
different things, technology. So having like something that can sort of, charge but not need to be plugged in, like if you got something from satellite or if you got something from the sun or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It depends on what type of device you got, but having something that can charge is a good thing. Matches, lighters, stuff
Yeah.
like that is good because lighters go out, so
Mm-hmm.
having matches, just it just, I guess it always depends on your situation, but having your main sources is always great.
Definitely.
Antibiotics, boo-boo kits,
Mm-hmm.
um, if it's a real crazy situation, of course, you want your tourniquet and all that type of stuff. You want
Mm-hmm.
your kit for survival, to be able to save lives as well as your own. So
Definitely, definitely.
me, me being a nurse, of course, I got CPR stuff and all different types of stuff, to try to help somebody and be able to
Mm-hmm.
help myself. So.
Absolutely. So, let's just say we're talking to the everyday novice person just starting out. They don't know nothing
Mhm.
about anything. They're watching this and they want to know what kind of training do you recommend for a stuff hits the fan scenario, just to say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So me, it's always hard because you don't want to ever push somebody to be in a position that they're not prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm real big on telling people you don't want to prepare by, you go buy the rifle, you go buy the handgun, you got the knives, you got
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff to survive, but you have never did anything with them, because what happens is now you're in an emergency situation, you have to use it,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're using it under all that pressure. You might use it wrong,
Mm-hmm.
or might not even be able to protect yourself, and now they have it. So I always tell people you should always train first. So rather that's just something like an experience like the survival sisters do, where you sort of go out and they give you this experience of, hey, you have to use this, let's walk you through it so you know what to
Mm-hmm.
do. We run into so many people that don't like firearms, but at the same note, they're terrified of being in a situation where they need one, right?
Yeah, definitely,
So
definitely.
it's like, yeah, so it's like, okay, let's know how to use it just in case we ever need it. But at the same note, let's also prepare not to have to use it, if that makes sense. Let's
Absolutely.
avoid it as much as we can, right? So I always tell people training first. And then after that, of course, I'm real big on telling people that a rifle is always a good thing because
Mm-hmm.
you just never know what's going to happen. And if you got a whole bunch of people attacking you and you just got this little teeny handgun, and then especially if you're not a really good shooter, you're not an experienced shooter, you're gonna run into some situations, and if
Yeah,
somebody
sure.
gets close enough to you and knocks down your handgun, then what? Then you're in trouble, and then especially if they get it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but so many people are against rifles right now. It's like a whole thing with with the mass shooters. So I get it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's like you got to think about yourself as well. Um, I always say, everybody says in the two-way, like guns don't shoot themselves.
No, they don't.
So,
Yeah, they don't.
right,
Yeah, I used to tell people all the time, like if I leave, I can leave the weapon loaded, placed on the table, leave for 10 years and come back and it's not going to go off.
it'll be
You know what I'm
still
saying?
there. They didn't hurt
Yeah,
nobody, right,
pick it up, put it right back in the holster. As long as my
right,
springs aren't rusted out, I can, pull things. I can unload it and everything right there. But
right,
yeah, definitely, like they definitely are user. They only engage with the user. They don't self-engage. So most
right.
definitely, I totally agree with that. Now, what do you think? Um, are like the best places to train or to start training? Like what kind of places or where do you think what kind of training should they start with if they're going to start to try to train to better prepare themselves?
So me personally, I think for I always think for beginner shooters, outside is always the best, and it's
Hmm.
because for one thing, you're adjusting to the noise of the firearm or the
Hmm.
rifle or whatever you decide to shoot. I think that's one of the hardest things being indoor.
Hmm.
So when I had first started to my own journey to learning with firearms, I went indoor and I
Yeah.
trained. And when I tell you, it took me a good maybe two trips just to stop jumping in my skin from
Hmm.
every firearm that was shot, because for one thing I had firearm trauma. My ex had shot right next to my ear, so
Mm.
he gave me firearm trauma. And then um I just wasn't used to it. When you're not used to that type of noise or whatever, and you're just thinking about something very powerful going
Yeah,
off, you don't
definitely.
know where, you don't really know the education behind it. It's a scary experience.
Hmm.
So I tell people, if you have the availability to go outside, because the noise is just more calmer. And then once you get used to the firearm and you see how you handle it and that you are in control of the firearm, then you could go inside. So even if it's a little bit louder, it'll be easier for you to digest. So
Now, I noticed that in part of the description that you provided for yourself, like online on your online social
mhm.
media, is that you said that you are a DV survivor. Now, would you attribute this training and being able to dedicate yourself to this lifestyle as a way that you overcame the pain and the hurt from that time period? So, and
Yeah,
if so,
so
how did you master that?
Yeah, so with me, I actually took a lot of different steps when I first
Hmm.
started going through my domestic violence. As you know, most people, you are in love with the person usually who's hurting you, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So my first thoughts was never to hurt him back or,
Hmm.
to do anything like that. So when it first started, it was sort of just, hey, figure out a way to distance myself, get me and my kids away, give
Hmm.
him whatever time he needs to get himself together, whatever, and go from there. But he started to stalk me really bad. And
Hmm.
then from there, he was breaking in my house. He almost rolled me off the street, off the road before.
Hmm.
Um, it was obvious that he didn't care about the life of me or my children.
Hmm.
So it got to a point that it was scary. And then as a woman, I went and I got the restraining order and I went to the police district and I did all the stuff you're supposed to do. But I also realized that when I was calling the police, by the time they got there, he was gone and the damage was already done.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes he would break my phone or throw my phone. I couldn't even call the police.
Hmm.
And then if you were in that era of people minding their business, people wasn't
Yeah.
calling the police for you.
Yeah, that's a
They're
fact.
like,
That's a fact. I remember. Yeah.
right, I don't want no part of
That
that.
ain't got nothing to do with me.
So
Exactly. Yeah. That's a
right.
sad that's a sad like there's a saying that men need to get back to checking men for not being men. Like
Mm,
that you know what I'm saying, that's definitely one of those situations because I remember too, um no, I don't remember. I heard of back in the day
mm,
that men used to come to the rescue of women being mistreated or being abused, I
right.
mean, in public situations or, in earshot of anybody else. And then as time
Mm,
evolved or whatever, during the times we were growing up. People kind of just, yo, that's none of my business. And,
Yeah.
we kind of need to get back to some of the things that our parents and grandparents had going on
You
because that was actually the right way to do things. So I agree that that was foul. And you can continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But just to speak on that too, you do find people too that you have so many toxic relationships
Hmm.
that you have. I remember before I actually intervened in a domestic violence situation that was happening outside, right? And
Hmm.
I this guy, right? Not to get off subject, but the guy, he knocked the girl's tooth out. It was so bad. Like,
Hmm.
I literally see him knock her tooth out, and I intervened, and I'm like, "Hey, stop hitting her, whatever." He ran off, like, "Screw this," or whatever. And then she was upset with me. She was like, "What did you do? You made him leave." You know what I mean? Like, some
Hmm.
people are so toxic in their own relationships that they don't even see how bad it is. And then when you try to help them, they look like you're really, making it worse.
Absolutely.
So I get it to a certain extent, but at the same note, a person like me who wanted to help, I couldn't get it because the people like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
From a
I
law
see it both
enforcement,
ways.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
but from a law enforcement side of point of view, like what you talking about, I have seen that also where, um,
Right.
you go there, you arrest a guy, you take him to jail. He's waiting to get, he's waiting to be seen by like the magistrate or whatever.
Mhm.
And she is typically she, but men are not above being
Mhm.
abused either. But it's typically she. She would run down to the state attorney, district attorney, the prosecutor's office, and
Drop the
try to
charges.
drop the charges. Yeah, like exactly. So it's exactly what you said happened to you, but it's the legal side of it
Yeah.
on our side. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So yeah, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah, and I hated that because, like I said, I was one of the people that I actually wanted to help, and
hmm,
I wasn't big on asking for it. Sometimes you could feel a little embarrassed about what you're
for
going
sure.
through. And as a victim, you go through that, it's my fault, and
Hmm.
all that type of stuff. Um, but when it was available, I'm like, okay, well, if this is available to me, let me use it.
Hmm.
And even I felt like sometimes with the police, like they would come and they'll be like, okay, so where he at? And I'm like, I don't know. And then in their mind, I knew, I just didn't want to tell them,
You're hiding them. Yeah, no
um,
doubt.
because the stuff that they seen. But for real, I'm like, I really don't know, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah. True
so
indeed.
yeah. After I went through getting the restraining orders and doing everything I was supposed to do, I started realizing the lack in time and realizing that, by the time the police get there, I
Hmm.
could be dead. So I was like, I gotta find a way to sort of be able to protect myself. So I realized, like I said, that by the time they would get there, he was already there. He already did the damage. He done
Hmm.
broke my door down, got in the house. I'm like, if this man really wanted to kill me, he could have killed me by now.
Hmm.
Um, so I just decided I wanted to find a way to, be able to defend myself. So I started looking at alternatives like pepper spray and little stuff like that. Like, maybe this worked. But then I started thinking about it, like, this is gonna piss him off,
Yeah, yeah,
it's gonna be worse on me. So then I even was like, okay, maybe I could try some hand to hand. But hand to hand is so close and so personal.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, it's almost like I have to let him grab me and put his
Hmm.
hands on me before I can even try to defend myself. So I'm like, oh, that ain't really good either. So then someone had mentioned to me, they was like, well, did you ever think about firearms? And I'm like, well, firearms is, it's so far. Like, I
Hmm.
felt like at that time, like, going to learn firearms meant like I wanted to shoot him.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'll think about it. I was just like, okay. One day I was just online and I was looking at some stuff, and I was like, like, I see a lot of people, a lot of women especially, talking about how a firearm could be too much.
Hmm.
But then I also looked into different people at the time, like KD from No Other Choice. He
Okay.
was talking about the history of Black history and stuff like that. And it
Mhm.
wasn't just firearm information. It was just, just trying to do things different in the world from how we were raised to do it. So
Mhm.
it sort of opened my mind to be like, hey, like, just because these women are saying this, maybe I'm different.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so it made me look, and I'm like, okay, I want to get into that. Happen to be, I go to work, and remember, I told you I'm doing nursing.
Mhm.
I go to work, and one of the guys who does housekeeping um happens to mention something about going to the range, and I was
Yeah, yeah.
like, I'm like, you shoot, like that. He was like, yeah. I just like literally cut into his conversation. I'm like, you shoot? He's like, yeah, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like wow, like crazy. And I'm like, no, like I was thinking about it or whatever. And I sort of explained, what I went through and
Mhm.
why I wanted to do it. And then he was like, listen, like, let's do it. So he was like, we'll go to the range and we'll see how you do and sort of go
Mhm.
from there. So the first time I went, I was supposed to go shoot with him. And I told you I had so much trauma that it took
Yeah,
me a
yeah.
while to be able to just adjust to the sound.
Mhm.
And then once I got there, we went through safety, went through fundamentals. Before you know it, I was shooting. I was like, oh, I really like this. Like, I
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, for sure. That's
the,
what's up.
the second I shot, I was like, oh, like, it just, for one thing, it's so empowering. And
Mhm.
a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people don't realize that, right? Because you got the people who get overpowered, where
Mhm.
they sort of
Yep,
get
yep.
scared, like, I got a gun, ain't nobody gonna mess with
Yep.
me.
Yep.
You get them
The
people.
immature
But
irresponsibles. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
right. But for me, it wasn't that. It was empowering. Like, I'm taking my own safety and my own life into my own hands.
Mhm.
And it was just so empowering. Like, I don't need somebody to save me. If it really came to it, because like I said, you never want that to happen. But if it came to it, I could save myself.
Most definitely.
And it was everything for me. And then from there, I started going to the range by myself all the time. I got a membership.
Mhm.
And then ladies just start asking me like, "Oh, how you learn to shoot like that?" And I'm like, "Well, I went to this one class, and then from
Mhm.
there I just took it off myself." And they're like, "Can you teach me?" And I was before I knew it, I was teaching people at the range, and I'm just like, I need to like be an instructor before I sit
For
there and I'm
sure.
teaching
Yeah,
people.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so from there I went and I took all the necessary steps, and before I knew it, I was working with NRA, USCCA, and I was doing my thing. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yep.
That man, that's awesome. So, since we started talking about shooting, let's say,
Right.
what do you think is a minimum that someone should shoot if they are a responsible gun owner? I'm not gonna say if they're a gun. I'm talking about responsible. So, how often do you think they should go to the
Right.
range and shoot? Because it's a perishable skill.
Um,
If you don't keep up with it, you're gonna lose it.
right.
Hmm.
Right. Oh my God. Please don't. I'm like, don't tell me I'm gonna skip again. Uh, but I don't. I think it depends on the shooter.
Yeah.
I do. I feel like some people can shoot once a week, and
Okay.
their shots are great. Their grouping is great. Everything is great. Their control is great.
Hmm.
Other people can go that same amount of time, and their shots are still all over the place because they're not focused. They're not where they need to be. Their
Hmm.
mind is still on like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this, and then they might need more shooting than that.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
need more experience. Some people even need guidance. Like, I got so many women that tell me, "Oh, I go to the range by myself all the time," and then when I ask to see a target, it's bullet holes all over.
Hmm.
And I'm like, who? And I'm like, you got to be realistic. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
somebody running your house. Do you really got that time to reload for all them shots that you done shot all over the place?
Hmm.
And then I'm like, where are them first 10 shots? I said, focus on them first 10 shots, because them first 10 shots is what you probably have in your magazine.
Hmm.
After
Absolutely.
that, if you think you're gonna sit there while somebody running at you, and you missing shots, and you gonna run at them with a gun that's you have to reload, it's not reasonable. Like, you need to really focus, and you need to get some more training in. But you'll be surprised. So many people, they be like, I go to the range all the time, and they think
Hmm.
that makes them an expert shooter, and it's like it doesn't work like that. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
mhm.
So, do you teach to shoot one eye or both eyes?
So I usually start teaching with one eye
Okay.
because it takes time to actually be able to focus with the two.
Hmm.
I remember when I did sort of want to see if I could get people to focus with two eyes from the beginning, because I'm like, maybe if I could get you to do it from the beginning, I don't have to train you later how to sort of focus that eye.
Hmm.
But it was bad because people were, the eyes were just fighting over each other, trying to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
see,
Dominant eye for sure.
and it
Yeah.
just, yes, and it just wasn't working. And I was like, you know what? All right, let's do it the other way. And I realized that way works a lot better. You
Okay.
focus with the one eye, and then from there you just slowly open the other eye.
Hmm.
As you start to perfect your shots, slowly open that other eye, and then you just get so used to it that it becomes muscle memory.
Most definitely, most definitely. So, um, in the caliber wars, people talk about this is my favorite caliber. My favorite, personally, my
Mhm.
favorite caliber is 9 millimeter. That's just me. What is
Mhm.
your favorite caliber and why?
Now, is it out of all calibers just shooting
Just we'll
anything,
talk. We'll
or
talk pistol. We'll talk pistol.
okay, what's up, pistol? Okay, my
Okay.
my favorite is nine as well.
Okay.
It'll
Okay.
be nine. Yeah, I feel like it's effective. I feel like it does the job,
Hmm.
and it's not over. It's not a overdrive. It's
Okay.
like I feel like it's just the perfect um caliber to me.
All right. All right. So now let's talk rifle. What's your now?
Mhm.
I'll give you mine. Mine, rifle wise, and um, you can blame it on the military. Now, even some military guys will say this sucks. The 223 556, but that's just my favorite, and I'm gonna tell you why it's my favorite
Mhm.
because and this is arguable with AK-47,
Mhm.
but it's the most popular round in this country, rifle wise, in my opinion.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I
Right.
could be able to get that. I don't see myself in a worst case scenario in I don't know, in South America, you know what I'm saying, or in the Middle East somewhere. I'm going to be right here in this country, so I should be able to acquire the rifle, the 223 556 rifle caliber anywhere. So that's another
Right.
reason why it's like my favorite rifle caliber. It's also what I was raised on, coming from the
Right.
military, so I'm the most comfortable with that caliber. Now you shoot.
Me, I will be the same. Believe it or
Okay.
not, everybody is big fans of the AR, and
Hmm.
um, you have so many people that are like, "Oh, I choose this over this," and that's fine. But 556 2 to 3 is it for me. For one thing, I love that I have a choice.
Yeah.
If I can't find one, I can use the other. I love that. Instead of trying to find AK ammo.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, 556 is it for me. I feel like it does the job. Like I said, just like 9 mil, it does the job.
For sure.
And then you can also get different. You get different grains. Like if you get a green
That's
tip,
true.
or you get different things. Yeah. So when I
Hmm.
go hunting for frogs, I use a steel green tip.
Yep.
So people are like, you use that for? Yeah, ain't no way. You need an 800, and you need this. And I'm like,
No,
nope.
you don't.
Right?
Exactly.
Nope.
Yeah. You know what?
I
Like,
done did it. I can tell you from experience.
yeah.
Green tip, still green tip works. So,
My
yep.
argument always is to people is that I can drop anything with a 22 because if the shot is placed correctly enough. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? Like
right.
if you have a well placed shot is better than the type of
The
caliber that you
bigger.
shoot.
Man,
Yeah, the
I
bigger caliber.
explain that to women all the time with the 22
Hmm.
caliber. They're like, my man told me I need to get the 22 because it's comfortable. And I'm like, listen. And it's like, so you telling me if I shoot somebody with a 22, I can't put them down? I said, you have to be an accurate shooter. And that's what I try to
Absolutely.
explain. If you terrified of the gun that you have and you barely want to shoot it, a 22 is not the gun for you. It's
No,
not.
nope, nope.
Uh,
And also, people got to realize too, and I know I'm stepping in your world, but I'm just going to interject, is that people have to realize in a shooting situation, shooting scenario, the range is
mhm.
two-way. It's usually they're going to be coming back at you, just like you putting them at
Right.
them too. So what you're going to
Yeah.
do naturally is instead of being an accurate shot like you're talking, you're going to try to hit the
Right.
biggest target presented to you. And the biggest target presented to you is the body. And
Yep.
depending on where you are geographically and what time of the year it could be, hitting somebody with a 22, you might not have the penetration power to even touch that person. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? And
Yep.
so the nine
Absolutely.
millimeter, and then you're talking grains too. So you definitely
Yep.
want to. be effective when throwing rounds down range
Yeah,
at your target. So absolutely, I totally agree.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
totally
That
totally
they
agree.
need to hear it. They need to hear it.
Yeah. So what lessons in self-defense have you learned that I would say define who you are so far? What lessons have you learned? Or even that you think others should be aware of, put it like that. So,
Um, I have learned, of course, like I have said over and over again, that no one can save you how you can save you.
hmm
No one's gonna ever care about you how you care about you. So to me, well, when it comes to, self defense and saving
hmm
your life, so to me, it's always the right thing to do to be able to, defend yourself and be
hmm
able to protect yourself and protect your family because out here, depending on other people, you just never know. You might get that cop that goes above and beyond, and he comes and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna sit outside your door and make sure
Yeah,
that
yeah,
guy don't
definitely.
come back." But unfortunately in my life I didn't run across that. You know what I
hmm
mean? So it's
hmm
like it taught me to be like, hey, like their job is to do this.
hmm
Meanwhile, I'm one person out of all these people that they supposed to protect. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
definitely.
it's just a lot on them as well as a lot on you because you're just like, oh, I'm gonna just keep calling and they're gonna come and protect, and it just doesn't work that way. So I
Definitely.
always tell people like you got to be realistic about things. So many people with the 380 and the
hmm
22s and I'm like, listen, it's fine if you're gonna put that time into really, like you said, to be an accurate shot. Because
hmm
if you're sitting and you're shooting somebody with a 22 and they foot, you know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
right, all that stuff makes a difference. And then you be surprised how many women have the mindset because they don't know any better, right?
hmm
They have this mindset of, oh, I'm gonna shoot them in the arm, I'm gonna shoot them in the leg, and it's gonna stop them. And it like, and then you got a 22. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta be real, gotta be realistic. You gotta get the education, and so much education behind firearms that people don't know. They think I
hmm
go to the range, I got a gun, I got ammo, oh, I'm good. It's so much more to it than that. Whether
Absolutely.
it's like even about the firearm insurance, having USCCA behind you, where if you have a situation,
hmm
they can help you and they can pay your bill and do all types of stuff. And people are like, what? Like, I never, because a lot of people will go buy a firearm, but won't think about if you got a lawyer, if you got to use that firearm.
Yeah, definitely. Especially depending on where you are in the country, because some places
Yeah,
are not, the self-defense laws are not the same everywhere. Like, for
so
example,
true.
like where I'm located at right now and where I'm from, in Ohio, we have the stand your ground law. But
Hmm.
in Virginia, I believe when I was there, don't quote, don't just from what I remember, we didn't have the stand your ground law. It was something that was being talked about, but from what I remember, we did not have it. And I know like places, and that's the East Coast. So if we go further up east, like where you from, there is no stand your ground law in
Hmm.
in Pennsylvania. I know like some places out west, you got like the castle law that extends out to the vehicle even. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And you can't shoot people in your car in other
Yep.
places. So, you definitely need some type of legal protection if and
Yes, so
when
true.
the unlikely event that you have to use your weapon. So yeah, that's what you're talking is absolutely necessary for people to hear and people to know. So if we talking to because I know your business primarily focuses on the empowerment of women, especially like
Yeah.
through survival and firearms. What are some of the
Right.
lessons that you feel like women should be aware of, like like warning signs, like if there's something that's getting ready to happen
Right.
that they need to be cognizant of.
One, of course, as a DV survivor, I'm definitely going to
hmm
say, pay attention to somebody. Um, I know me, I was a victim of this myself. Somebody grabbing me
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
getting aggressive with me and just be like, oh, he's upset. And then now, you live in a toxic world where so many people think, oh, my man don't get upset. He don't get angry at me like that. He don't love me.
hmm
All that stuff is false facts. um,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
takes a while to get to know it, but we definitely got to start, actually seeing the signs of someone who's, working their way up to being abusive.
hmm
Because So many of us don't see it, and now you got women getting killed, their kids, and it's because they're ignoring them signs, and it's sad,
Absolutely.
so, so that's number one. Another thing I would say is being aware of their surroundings. So
Hmm.
many women I see walk around every day with big giant pocketbooks, and you just walking with this big giant pocketbook, and you're not paying attention to nothing that's going on around you. Your
Yeah.
hands are full. You have a pocketbook in this one, phone in this one, and you just walking around, and it's people just walking around you, and you're not paying
Yeah.
attention.
No
Being in
situational awareness. Yeah.
situational awareness is everything. I have been telling women, I've been telling people, even like I have teen boys,
Hmm.
so I'm telling them, don't you walk around with both of them AirPods in your ear,
Hmm.
uh, don't you walk around with a whole bunch of stuff in your hands. If I gotta buy you pants with a whole bunch of pockets just so you can put your stuff in your pockets so you can have your hands free, all that makes the difference of
Definitely.
being survive in an emergency situation. Also,
Definitely.
knowing your exits. I tell my kids all the time, know your exits. When you walk in a building, when you walk in a restaurant,
Hmm.
wherever, see exits in there, just in case it's an emergency. Because if everybody running out the front door, right? But he coming in that front door. Do you want to run out that front door if you could just run out that back?
Hmm.
It's just stuff, but people they're not giving it enough attention to really realize. So I feel like that is one of the biggest things right now is just being aware. When it comes to being a firearm owner, I would definitely say um being slower to anger. You know what I mean? I feel
Hmm.
like so many people get firearms and then it's like, ain't nobody gonna mess with me,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is attitude you should not have. Because like I said, if you happen to use your gun and
Hmm.
you're not justified, it's definitely not gonna be worth it for the petty
Absolutely.
argument that you done had with the girl down the street about some guy who about to be with her anyway because you're going to
Hmm.
jail.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
For real. For real. Yeah.
it's like you got to make it make sense. So I tell everybody, I'm like, listen, if you driving and you got road rage, the last thing you should be thinking in your head is, well, I got a gun. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like,
Absolutely.
no, you need to be able to focus on what you need to do and be like, hey, it's not even that serious because that's part of being a responsible gun owner. Um,
Absolutely.
Trying to avoid all the situations you can't avoid, but also being ready for the ones you can't. You
Hmm.
know, so that's definitely a good one as well. But yeah, like all that is important. Getting training, getting education is very important as well. Like I said, so many people you have the boyfriends that are teaching the girlfriends, and then they're
Hmm.
wondering why the girlfriends ain't learning right. Right? Why she can't get it? Why she can't get it? Believe it or not, there is a difference between an instructor and a male or female that can shoot. If
Absolutely.
everybody that can shoot cannot teach, there is a difference.
Hmm.
So don't understand. Oh, I hit my target all the time. Why can't I teach her how to hit her target? I had a female police officer who had two sisters, and she came to my class and she's like, "Oh, I could do this and I could do that," and she did good, right? I'm like,
Hmm.
"Oh, congratulations, you did good." Um, but when she came, I taught them. Mm-mm. It was not good, so it's like you need to be mindful and accepting of that. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
could be a shooter and not be a teacher. It's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's okay. So um I'm real big on people just getting the education behind whether it's just firearm safety, whether
Hmm.
it's the gun laws, especially like you said, different places. If you in Jersey and New York, your gun laws are completely different than almost
Hmm.
everybody else. Washington, so many places you have to really be aware of them laws. So being aware, knowing the laws for where you are and where you're traveling to. People
True
will be like, "Oh,
indeed.
I'm taking my gun with me," and not even know you done took your gun over here. Now they got you in the office
Hmm.
because
Yeah. That's a
their
fact.
firearm laws is different. Yeah, so knowing what you could travel with, where you traveling to, all that stuff is important. All that education is important, and then, like I said, your training. Even if you're doing training, I tell people if you're really serious and if you're gonna be a person that's gonna conceal carry and you're gonna carry that gun every day, you
Hmm.
should not be doing one training class once a year. That makes no sense. There's no way. You should at least until you get to the point that you feel like, for one, you have the education behind it, and
Yeah.
two, you feel like your shots are really going where you want them to go, you
Hmm.
should at least be doing training. I would say at least 2 times a month, at
Okay. Yeah.
least.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's I say that's on the conservative side. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
because honestly, like when I was at an agency in Ohio, when I worked for the hospital, when I was a hospital police, so they required us to shoot weekly. They had us to go,
Hmm.
had a range for us to go to. They gave us a stipend in our check, and we had to go shoot weekly. We brought the receipt back because they gave us the stipend, so we had to spend it on the range. We
Hmm.
brought the receipt back, and they were strict about it because one of the attitudes about it was, you're in a hospital, and if you have to shoot someone in a
Yeah.
hospital where the walls are paper thin, you better hit the target because
Yeah. For real.
because if you hit somebody up, the collateral damage, um, the
Man,
account the level the meter for account collateral damage was zero. You need to know how to shoot, and you better know how to do it effectively. So yeah,
yes.
definitely. And yeah, I agree. It's a responsibility, and it's not just a right, but that right has to be it has to be made, it has to be monitored accordingly. So like I said, you rise and fall. Not like I
Hmm.
said, but like I was told in the military by one of my sergeants, he said that you rise and fall to the highest level of training that you have. So if your level of training is, um, I got my concealed carry permit and I haven't shot in the last till I have to renew the permit, then you suck.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So yeah,
And you're
you suck.
dangerous. And
Yeah,
you're
you're
dangerous.
dangerous. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely,
Because
absolutely.
if I tell people all the time, and people get upset at me because I say, okay, somebody breaks in your house, right? They
Hmm.
break in the door, and the first thing you go is, I got a gun, I'm going to shoot. Now you done shot this shot, and even if you can have this, my education is so important. You can have the wrong ammunition. You done shot him. That done went through and done shot
That's
the
a fact.
grandmom across the street. Now you
That
sitting
is a
there and you
fact.
like, but I supposed lack of education. So I keep telling people like it's more to it than even hitting your target. But people they gotta want to do it themselves. So
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. So. All right. Now, as a woman, how important is it being or having worst case scenario preparedness? Would you say? How important is it?
I feel like it's definitely important for women to be prepared. Um, there's so much, like I said, whether it's just you having your concealed carry license and you carrying, right?
Hmm.
Um, one thing that a lot of women do is they carry their gun in their purse, right?
Okay.
If you're a person and you feel like there's no other way for you to carry, then you have to be so prepared that if someone was to grab your fire or grab your purse and try to steal your purse, you have to be prepared to take that firearm out that purse, because at the end of the day, now they have your firearm that has
Yeah.
your name on it.
Hmm.
um and it's worse than just stealing your money. It is.
Yeah. Yeah. For
A lot
sure.
of people don't see it like it is, but it is.
Hmm.
um and even to the point of bad guys, right? People say all the time like, oh, the bad guy does this. Okay, so let's say you at a bank and the bad guy comes in, they robbing that bank. They're going to take your purse,
Hmm.
right? If your gun is in your purse, you have to be prepared to shoot through that purse if you have to,
Yeah. Yeah.
and be
Definitely.
able to shoot accurately. Like
Hmm.
there's so much more to it that I try to explain to women. Like if you want a purse carry, you need to fully be into that purse carry. You need to practice drawing from that purse. You need to be prepared to shoot through that purse if you have to. Like all that has to be, you have to be able to hold on to that purse for dear life. If somebody's to run by and try to take your purse, you gotta be able to hold on to that purse, because you cannot let that gun go. You know
No.
what I
Yep.
mean?
Hmm.
And they don't understand that, compared to if I'm walking with a big old purse and a purse snatcher is running by, they're gonna take the purse, but are they gonna check my body for my gun? No, right?
Hmm.
If I'm at a bank and they going around and they taking people purses, do you think they gonna check the females for guns? No.
No, no, it's not on the top of the list. That's for sure.
It's not as likely, right? It's not as likely. Now, if they know that you just somebody happen to know you, and they probably like, oh, she got a gun,
Hmm.
But more than likely, no. Especially if you on your regular everyday and you just conceal carrying, they're not going to think about it.
Hmm.
They
Yeah,
won't worry
definitely.
about your phone and your purse,
Yep,
your
yep,
phone and your purse, your A1. So, having that almost, that people think having people think that you're lacking on your protection is actually going to help you in so many ways. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
if you put your pocketbook, which is more than likely one of the first things that people going to take from you, is not being prepared at all.
yeah.
So being able to, if you're going to do that, being able to draw from that pocketbook, being able to tell yourself, hey, I will have to shoot through this pocketbook if I have to. Even with concealed carrying,
Hmm.
knowing when to use your firearm, is so important. So being prepared to use your firearm if you have to, and also being prepared to walk away, even if it make you look like a punk, because you want to be um oh, why is not coming to my head? Responsible. You want to be
Definitely.
responsible. You want to make sure that you're not going to sit there and get high headed and be
Hmm.
like, oh, yeah, I got my gun. Because being prepared to use your gun in a dumb situation is not being prepared.
No.
Because you sure ain't prepared for that for that jail sentence that you get.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
fact.
right. So at the end of the day, like you gotta really be in your mind and deal with situations. Some people think they get guns and they be like, oh, I don't gotta worry about this. And it's so much that you gotta worry about. And then I have women that come to my classes. I do situation awareness classes.
Hmm.
And I have women that come to my classes and one of the first things they say is, oh, but this won't happen in real life. It happens all the time. uh a lot of the situation awareness things that I do are stuff that I get off the news.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do it purposely. I do it purposely because it has happened.
Hmm.
Whether it's somebody like I do, for example, I do a little course where I'll make it, like a fake car, and you have your baby in the back, and you have your groceries in the back, and you have your firearm on you. You getting out the car, it's dark at night. How do you do that? You know what I mean? How do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do that and be aware? How do you do that and be prepared?
Hmm.
Because so many people are like, well, I got my baby and I gotta do this and I gotta do that. Yeah, but there's a protocol to all that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, true indeed.
trying to park, whether it's trying to park as close as you can to your house, whether it's looking around and using your mirrors before you even get out the car.
Hmm.
So many people jump out their car, they don't even look around and see what's going on around them.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
So it's just so much stuff, and people are like, "Oh, this not realistic." Oh, it is. It
Hmm.
is. I have done it. I have got out the car with a with a car seat, and groceries,
Hmm.
and I got a firearm, and I still got to walk down the street because I couldn't find a parking spot.
Yeah, definitely.
So looking around, and that's why I tell people, even me telling somebody, I say, you should drive around the block a couple of times before you park. They said, oh, it's just wasting gas. Oh, but it ain't wasting gas if you done seen the guy up the street that's looking around, lurking, waiting for
Yeah.
somebody to walk. Now you done see him ahead of time, and
Hmm.
you already know, and you prepared. It's not, you ain't worried about that gas then,
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yep. So I tell people being prepared is everything. It's a part of life, and so many people look at preparedness as paranoia.
Hmm.
Look at it as you're paranoid, and it's like, no, I'm not walking around like, oh, I'm gonna go shoot this person and take pulling out my gun on everybody. That's paranoid.
Hmm.
You
I
know,
agree.
you don't know what to expect. Preparedness is just being in your mind to know, hey, if I had to do this right now, I could.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
being
yeah.
prepared. Yep, and then paying attention, situation awareness. I can't talk about it enough.
That
So
absolutely. And all the points that you highlighted is definitely something that people need to take heed to, kind of mentally digest that and just think through because there's really no right or wrong answer, but
mm,
not having an answer, period, is the
yeah,
worst answer. You know what I'm saying? Is the worst is the worst kind of outcome. Not having an answer. I don't know what I would do. That's just not good enough. You got to have
but
some
that's
type of yeah.
that's so many people. Yeah, they're like, I don't
So
know.
yeah, man, and that's crazy. So, um, Earlier, when we first started recording, we got on the podcast together, you were outlining some of the things about your business, and you were talking about you listed the different things that you teach, the different things that you do, the services that you provide. Now, what is something about your business that almost no one agrees with, would you say?
Um, I guess one thing I could say is people sort of feel like, I guess it could be the whole trying to find a reliable firearm thing that I
Yeah.
get a lot of pushback on. So I get a lot of people that come with me and they got the pretty sky, right? The pink
Yeah, yeah,
sky,
yeah.
the sky. They have the cheap Taurus because it's cheap and
Hmm.
not the good ones, cheap ones.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have, they have the high points. They have everything that you can think of because at the end of the day, they bought something because of the price or
Hmm.
because it was sell or they got it at a gun shop or whatever. Um, but they didn't really buy it because it was the firearm for them.
Hmm.
So I have had women come to my classes with revolvers, right? And these are more than likely the husband called me and set up the class. I have talked
Hmm.
to husbands about their wives coming and say, "Oh, she has this," and I'm like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Has she shot it before?" No. Okay. Did she shoot yours? You know what I mean? Because maybe
Hmm.
she
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
shoot, but has she shot a revolver before at all? No. Okay, so why did you buy her revolver? Oh,
Yeah.
she liked it. She liked it.
Yeah,
How
it's
did
a
she know
totally
she
different grip and everything. Absolutely.
how did she know
Yeah.
that she liked it? And then
Hmm.
I get to the class, and I am not a revolver girl. I am not. I will shoot revolvers for fun,
Hmm.
but they are not my go-to. They aren't. Of course, I done got all the education behind them because I see them so much in my classes. I gotta have
Hmm.
the education behind it, but they're not my go-to. So I'll bring her into the class, and I'm like, okay, I don't walk you through all the safety. I don't walk you through all the fundamentals, and I'm like, all right, you here, you got it, and they're like, yes. They done took 12 pictures with the gun, right? I got the gun.
Yeah.
You gotta tell them 1,000 times. You gotta
Yeah.
keep it pointed this way. You gotta be safe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I took 12 pictures, 12 selfies
No,
here.
for sure. For sure.
Like, okay. Now I'm like, okay, time to shoot, right?
Hmm.
One shot. That gun kicked back and oh, I don't like this. I ain't shooting this no more. And then when I expressed to them, I said, okay, because I'm always prepared, right?
Hmm.
So I done already knew you was bringing this rifle. I'm at this revolver. So now I done brought a Glock 48 or something that's more reliable and more
Definitely.
realistic for a
Hmm.
new shooter. I done brung that to the class and I'm like, hey, I want you to try this out. Now you try it and then you're like, oh, now you like it. And now your husband mad at me because now he gotta go buy a new firearm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And like that one. But this is the reason why I talk about it so much. I'm like, I love to catch a new shooter before she buys a firearm.
Hmm.
And it's because I want you to actually shoot different firearms where you know that you like it. It's not,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, that looked like a cool firearm, or I heard good stuff about this, but it's actually, hey, this firearm is comfortable in my hand.
Hmm.
Oh, I love recoil. I can rack the slide. I know all the different ammo. I know everything. I
Hmm.
want to be able to do that. So at the end of the day, it's your firearm and you can take care of it yourself instead of having to come to somebody else all the time to do it for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I get so much kickback on that. So
That's
much.
funny. That's funny. So let's say like in closing, I want people to know where they can find you. How can people locate you online? What is you like website or any social media tags, whatever you have, go because I'm definitely gonna put it in the description and I'm gonna try to put it inside the video also when we have it on the screen. So shoot, how can they locate you?
Okay.
How can they find you?
Okay, so I have Instagram is defensive underscore unicorns,
Hmm.
which is on Instagram. I'm also very into working with survival sisters. So I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff with them. You can find me there as well. Um So Survival Sisters, you got Defensive Unicorn, they're both on IG.
Hmm.
Um, then you have my website, which is www.defensiveunicornsllc.com. You go
Okay.
on there, list of classes, you get list of things I'm doing.
Okay.
So you can find me there as well. And I'm looking into doing so much more stuff. I want to do a whole bunch more stuff, whether it's I want to start gardening. So I want to start growing my own foods.
Awesome.
And yep, I already started videos of cleaning meat and cooking meat and showing, different things. So
We're gonna have to bring
I'm
you back to talk about this stuff too.
yes.
Now,
I'm
I'm
planning
telling you,
on
when we actually feature this video, I'm gonna put your website also as a feature on my. So the way the website is structured on my website, when I have
right.
your video up, I'm gonna put your website as another
Okay.
location where they can a link that they can access you to also.
Okay.
So I'm gonna
Okay.
put that on there when I put your video up on the website and then obviously on the YouTube channel. So definitely, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
But like I said, man, like it's definitely been a pleasure having you on the show and
Thank
helping to educate the people and kind of giving a message to the women out there that really needed
you.
to hear this, especially when it comes to self-defense and ideas and concepts and situational
Mhm.
awareness. And as a gift for being on the show, I always provide a gift. I try to provide a gift or make a donation to whoever
Right.
comes in to the show. So your gift, I'm gonna be providing it to you from one of our sponsors. It's AmericanTriggerPullers.com,
Okay.
and that's AmericanTriggerPullers.com. I'll make sure I get your information, or we got your
Okay.
information. I'm gonna make sure we send it out to you and that you get that. So I definitely appreciate it. And
I appreciate it.
for sure. And having a military background and law enforcement background, I usually
Mhm.
use, and we work in acronyms, and my acronym is HOPS. And HOPS stands for I want you to train hard, train often, train properly, and train safely. Peace.
Yes. Bye.